So today I'm going to talk about my one of my favorite practices, Ho'oponopono, and see how it relates to Relateful Flow and what's similar, what's different, and let's just play and see what happens with these beautiful practices. So Ho'oponopono is this subtle and complex thing that happens at the field level rather than an individual one. So if you've heard of it before, you've probably heard "Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me." If you haven't, that's what it is. And this is from a Hawaiian tradition that I learned about 20 years ago, and I've been practicing it for a long time. It really helps me to give a frame. Um, Remember their humanity, my humanity when things are going on around me that I don't like or that I'm judging. It's easy for me to put them in the othering, to think that's not me, that icky stuff over there, that person acting that way, that system being that it's not me, and and causes separation. So the result of "Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me" is feeling like part of the oneness, part of the field. It's not about forgiving a person for terrible behavior. It's not about the individual. And this is my interpretation of it. I'm so open for feedback and your interpretation as well. But it's not excusing behavior. It's not making it okay for somebody to treat you in an inappropriate way. It's not the like it. You can have boundaries and practice this. You can say, "I'm not interested in. I'm not up for being in this context relation with this person or energy." um, while still doing this remotely for for the healing for you and the whole field. It was shared from somebody doing it in a facility where people in the facility had done horrible things, and the Ho'oponopono practitioner went ahead and did this practice and did what he called cleaning, and like found those places in him and cleaned it, and then they tracked and noticed the people that he worked on with their case, like looking at their case and what was going on, had improvement. I don't know if we could do more studies and make that more um, actual. So let me just make sure I repeat this again here. It's not about loving or forgiving the specific behavior that's happening, like in a flow. So when we bring this back to relateful flow, there's times things are happening and you may not like it. You may not like the flow. It's not as deep as you want, or it's too fast, or there's a million ways that we can judge. Um, you may not feel like there's permission for you to talk, or somebody interrupted. And this is for like micro, like when there's a big thing, we will always take care of safety first. So, what the theory is that when we other somebody, like we get caught in the illusion that we are separate, that we are our personality and our identity, and they are their personality and identity. And so it's like forgetting. So, saying "Thank you, I love you" is like thank you is not a thank you for this pain. It's not a thank you. It's a thank you for the noticing, to be able to notice I've left the connection of oneness. Um, so forgiving is like forgiving that we forgot that we are connected. And it's like a way to do it that's wu wei, like doing it without effort, without trying. It's not so with relateful, we're not uh it's like a practice of non-doing. And so when this happens, for me, as I've done it for 20 years, it's very simple. I'm not sure if this is will be helpful. Um, but it's like thanking for what is being revealed. Loving is like the remembering that we are, and the willingness to see shared humanity. So there's a piece in there that when we look at the other and think, oh, they're being, let's just say, for example, they're being judgmental. And this is a really easy one for me. They're being judgmental. Um, And in the moment, it can feel like, I'm not like that. I'm here in presence and practice of love. I feel connections and I'm not judging. I am in this moment not judging anyone, but I'm feeling their judgment or I'm projecting their judgment. I don't know what's real. Um, but when we get caught in thinking we know, that's where this practice is like the willingness to remember, the forgiveness, please forgive me. There's 4 things. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. The forgiveness, I release the need for my perception to be right. Um, and it's like the I'm sorry is like forgetting that I am that too. Like I like find pieces of the judgment in me, and then I do the thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and clean that of myself. Like even our behavior is the illusion, the separation, that we're out of the oneness, that we even have like the personality and the identity and all that stuff. So it's without effort. And yeah, so it's more like what we're doing is softening and it's like looking with curiosity as opposed to the knowing. So I mean, if that's an innate way for you, then you this practice is like would be extra. Excuse me. And perhaps this isn't even something we do in the flow. It's just a theoretical looking at. And I don't know how often I do it in flow, but it is like a way of looking at which is flow, which is like moving from reactivity to awareness, from certainty to openness, and from othering to inclusion. So somebody might be like really not in the practice, like not dropping in. They might be even, reading things on their screen instead of just taking everyone in the Zoom. There might be things that are happening that aren't necessarily like your favorite way of practicing, like with people. And and then it's thinking that example, it's like, well, what are my subtle what is this in me that's subtle? Like, yeah, I'm looking at everybody on the screen, I'm not reading something else, but our minds are complex. I am still thinking about other things going on in my life, I'm sure. Like, even if it's not in my immediate awareness, like, am I fully here with no past, no future, no name? It's one of my favorite meditations. Like, is it even possible to have nothing else but this one moment of you and me at the screen, like, with nothing else on my mind, like the show I was just watching on TV about the ice sheets and the penguins and, the things that I care about, that are important to me, that are affecting my system. Um, so this practice isn't about changing this external experience. It's just by looking at our relationship and shifting to the relationship to the perception. So Ho'oponopono is kind of a trick or a move, but it's also a beautiful practice outside of Relateful. When I am triggered, I often do this practice and like notice what's in me that is triggering me on the other person. Um, so it's it's like when we take ourselves out and go, I know what's going on. This person's this or that, and I'm not paying attention, not present, whatever it is. It can be very subtle. We're also taking ourselves out by that noticing. And that's nothing's wrong with that. We're not trying to change that we've taken that position. We are in the noticing of that position. We're bringing our awareness to these micro movements um, that are a part of life, and not we're not making them right or wrong. We're just going to notice and be with them. Like by noticing, sometimes that brings this field back into reality of Ho'oponopono. Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Is this way to go into I am you, you are me. I am. There. This is where the words get a little woo woo. Um, So it's not necessarily, like, going to dissolve the othering. It's not gonna necessarily create connection. It's not about an outcome. It's just the noticing and being able to notice it in a way of, like, we can bring I feel judgment, I feel that, you bring it in that way, and that's, um, part of the practice, and as an add-on or something I'm playing with that I'm curious about and wanting to share, without saying this is a fact or this is the way to do it or this is a new practice. I have no idea. Um, but it just brings this layer of relateful noticing that, oh, I just did the thing. I'm separate, and thank you for my noticing of the separation. And the forgiveness is like forgiving that we forget, and we're always forgiven, and it's just the act of the words, "Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry." Again, it's about, "I'm sorry that I forgot. I'm sorry that" sorry is like, I've noticed that I made you an other, and I might still be making you an other. It's not fixing it. It's just such a subtle, subtle place to play. Um, so it might be like, thank you is the gratitude, I love you is the willingness of looking at the field, the willingness of taking our perceptions into a awareness state. That's the I love you. It's like willingness to zoom out of the self into a wider place. And the I'm sorry is the noticing. Like, I'm sorry that it's the ability to notice is that I'm sorry, like, oh, I'm outside. So it's just something I wanted to share and playing with. I love Hooponopono and I love Relateful, and I don't know how they exactly connect. And sometimes once in a while I'll find myself just in like my own world, and then I play with that and I come back and I feel like connected to the field again. And then that sometimes that connection is just, oh, everything dissolves, and this feeling, and you don't need substances like the spiritual teachers. There's psychedelics and substances that people do to get to the state. Um, and it's again a beautiful state, but that's not the goal. That's not the direction. When we apply attempting to get to that state, it's like harder to get there, or we pattern ourselves in the trying, and in the non-trying and the wu wei is where the magic really lives. So these are really complicated things to speak about, and I appreciate this as a place to play and allow looking and remembering like a shared humanity, and to go in a little bit bigger scale here, like I've done this in this healing place of the anger I've had as an environmentalist. So an anger at CEOs and systems that are not serving a functioning, sustainable planetary future. And so I look at the CEOs and the pieces and the lobbyists and the things and I go, "Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me." And I'm, like, scanning myself, like, "Where is this in me? Oh, I do have greed. I do." Sometimes, I know that feeling of greed, and sometimes the greed is just like, "I'm gonna stay up late and watch more TV." Like, I'm greedy on my own life, and, like, I can feel, um, if I had the opportunity for more greed, like, what would I do? Would I be able to, um, choose something over being sucked into, very human state of wanting more, you know? Like, even sometimes I buy too much food at the farmer's market, and then it goes bad, and like somehow that's great. I'm supporting the farmers, but I'm not respecting the food and not eating it. There's a million ways to look at it, but to find my humanity that like, oh, I'm a human being and I know these strings and they're not, the scale is different. I don't think I would become the same way as some of the um decision people that make decisions that I don't think are good for the greater whole of humanity. I don't think I would do things that Hitler did. So the Ho'oponopono is scale. Like, you might have developed yourself that you're not in a distant pattern in a relateful flow, and you are present, and it's looking for yourself and forgiving something on a different scale than CEOs doing selfish, greedy things, or practitioners acting in a way that you've definitely grown out of. But it's like there's still pieces and possibilities of humanity in us. There's nothing there's that we're all human, and when we forget that, that's the forgiveness, like, for forgetting. And there's something calming and peaceful about being being with that. Um, so basically, it's like being willing to remember our shared humanity, and it brings us back into a relateful relational field and dissolves objectifying. Um, and it doesn't mean I have to like you or agree with you or support your activity or feel close to you. This doesn't mean like the field is there because we feel warm and lovey-dovey, which happens a lot in beautiful flows. But in this case, this can happen even if there's disconnection and separation in a flow. This field contact can happen no matter the field that you're in. That's where I'm playing with it, is like we're not waiting for the circumstances in flow or in life to be perfect to connect to this oneness state and this field. But from wherever we are, we can get there. And I'm sure there's relateful without Ho'oponopono is that way. Um, I just like playing with breaking it down here. I also want to look at A Course in Miracles and how that applies, as some of the foundations of the Course in Miracles are a part of this relateful program, which is like deep forgiveness, and you're always already forgiven, but like there's a remembering of that. And I want to go into more research and study that, as I'm less practiced that than 25 years of Ho'oponopono. No, just 20 years. Um, so again, we'll just go over the way it works for me. I'm sorry is noticing separation and leads to having less of an other. Please forgive me is I release the need for this perception to be right, which is so beautiful. I release the need for this perception to be right, less rigid, more open. Thank you is like including what is revealed, turning towards the experience, like turning towards this feeling of not liking, turning towards the feeling of feeling disconnected. That's the thank you. I love you is willing to remember shared humanity, which is like the looking within that it's in us too, like willing to remember we are shared humanity. And so the emergence is the rigidity of perception softens, it becomes more space, less certainty, and openness. And so for Relateful, it brings us into more presence, more contact with what's here. It doesn't mean that that other person is going to change in any way, shape, or form. And then, but that doesn't matter. That's how this all works. We're not necessarily changing the outside world to experience life in a different way. And I'll just close with two sisters I know, and one sister is living in a safe city, um, having some medication issues that needs to probably be changed, and living in constant fear that she's being followed and um, harassed, and living in just a state of unhappiness. And the other sister is living in a war zone in Dubai with pings on her phone, incoming missiles, and is living in a state of everything's okay. So it's just kind of like how we see and how we relate. And one of them is like probably medically inclined, but it's like her state of mind in a non-war zone is far worse than the state of mind in her sister in a war zone. And that's an extreme case, but that's just how we're looking at it. Um, so it's not about the movement. So even though this can change from reactivity to awareness, from certainty to openness, and othering to inclusion, we're not attempting to do that. We're not trying to move there, but this practice is like that happens. But that's not the point. If we go into this Hooponopono or Relateful with like, I need to get to this other side where I am aware and open and feel inclusion, we're missing the point. That's a doing and a holding in of itself. And I would like to break that down in another session here. So Relateful is about live interaction, sensation, real-time awareness, and the field. So I'm not using Hooponopono to create connection. I'm using it to include the moment where connection feels absent. And it's aligned with flow in that way to me. The moment of othering and is the moment of misperception. And Ho'oponopono is a way of returning to a shared reality, not by fixing or changing others, but by softening the lens for which we are seeing. So the practice would be noticing when notice the moment where someone becomes other and stay with that sensation. And if it feels natural, let the phrases move quietly through you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. No forcing, no performing, no expectation, and just an orientation. Sometimes this is a quiet shift, and sometimes nothing was actually separate in the first place. Sometimes it softens. And it's not because there was a connection that happened. It's because we stopped pushing away the experience of separation. It's not a dissolving of othering, and it's not a creating of connection. It allows me to stay with the moment of othering and sometimes softens my relationship to it. It's like bringing forgiveness into a real-time relational phenomenon. And again, the forgiveness is a field-oriented forgiveness, not an individual-based forgiveness. Um, so that's about it. Finally made a shorter video. Just putting this out there as a fun thing to play with. It's kind of different than everything is a mirror. But it is a similar sense of like looking at it as a mirror, like what is in them that is in me. But it's also at scale at a different scale. So it's fun to try it in life, or welcome to try it in a Relateful session. And again, this is probably the same as Relateful without Ho'oponopono. It is like the same idea without the words, thank you, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry. It's the same idea, staying with what is happening in the moment, which if that is a disconnection, it's staying with this connection can create the same exact experience. Um, Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or would like to reach me, I'll put some stuff in the description. Thanks again. Have a great day.